It's time for Maggie and the Moms. Sponsored by Tampa General Hospital.
We're supposed to be our children's rock. Mom, you know, is the one who feeds them, who takes care of them, helps them, juggles their schedule, makes sure that everything is running smoothly. But what happens when we are rocked by an unexpected diagnosis? How do we handle that experience? How do we tell the kids? We are diving into that topic today with two women who have had to answer those questions and who have lived that reality. We're so happy to welcome Dr. Rosanna Lastra. She is the pediatrician who founded the Concierge Pediatric Practice.
Hello, hello.
Hello, the name of your practice?
Head to toe Pediatrics.
With a two, with the number two. Head to toe Pediatrics. C.G. Castro is a mother of three, and she is the founder of Domestic Gourmet Foods. So I am so happy to have you here, and happy to have Deanna Moore, executive producer of Daytime, at the helm as always.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Deanna, for always keeping. You're the mom of this show, helping it run smoothly.
I'm a strict mom.
I like it. That's how I roll. So listen, today's topic, I'm especially grateful that you are willing to be here as a resource for other moms. It's not easy to come here and share what you have been through, what you are still going through. Rosanna Lastra has been dealing with a cancer diagnosis that came in 2022 and then recurred in 2025, and she has two little ones at home. You suggested this topic.
I did.
Because
I feel it's important, especially as a pediatrician. I think we need to understand when moms, dads, anybody in the family is dealing through things, how to address that with our littles, because they're always watching.
So brave of you. First of all, I want to say that I am so happy to see you here, cancer-free today.
Yes, very, very happy. No cancer in my body as of right now, which is great. It's a great feeling. Lots of follow-ups, lots of ongoing care, lots of things to try to prevent this from recurring again.
One day at a time.
Exactly.
One day at a time. All right, so take us back, if you would, Rosanna, to that day. You get the diagnosis. Do you decide to tell the children right away?
So when I was first diagnosed was back in 2022. My second baby was not born yet. I only had my first baby. She was 1 at the time. I went in just for my regular dental exam, and the dentist noticed a small white patch. She asked me if I had burned myself, like had a hot drink, maybe bit my tongue. I said no, nothing that I recall, no pain, nothing. She said, well, you know, we should biopsy this to be extra sure, extra safe. This was right in the middle of the holidays in 2022. So, of course, to get in anywhere, to get a biopsy, they're telling me 3 months. Thankfully, I have a friend who's a dermatologist, and she's like, if it's in an area where I can see it, I can biopsy it. Come on over. So I went over to her, and she thankfully took that biopsy. It's probably going to be nothing, but that nothing turned into squamous cell carcinoma, oral squamous cell carcinoma of the tongue. I follow up with ENT because, you know, we need to address this and get in with the cancer centers. And I'm told to not get pregnant.
Oh.
Because we were starting to plan at that point. A week later, I'm pregnant.
Oh, boy.
Like,
you were already pregnant.
I was like,
so does that hamper treatment?
It made things a little bit more difficult. So we did have to wait to the second trimester to have surgery the first time. And then, of course, not knowing potentially if I would have to undergo more than one surgery, and like just thinking about all of that while being pregnant was very stressful.
Gosh.
At that time, my 1-year-old didn't really understand much. Thankfully, that surgery was not as involved as the second surgery, so I was able to be home same day. Not a lot was rocked in her world, but she did know mommy has a boo-boo. That's going to be taken care of. We address things as boo-boos because that's what they understand right now.
Right. Age-appropriate explanation.
Age-appropriate.
So the cancer comes back and you have to have that second surgery. Now you have 2 children. The oldest is a little older, so you decide I need to tell her more.
Yes. So she's 3 at that time.
How do you go about that?
So got my diagnosis. I knew I would have to go into surgery again. This time it would have to be more intensive surgery. From when I got my diagnosis, the doctor says, I want to see you in surgery in a week. So I was like, oh my, a week before I'm like out of the home. So I told my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old, mommy has a big boo-boo. I showed her. Thankfully, it was in an area that, you could see. When it recurred as a little ulcer with some bleeding. So she could see there's a little bit of bleeding. There's a boo-boo. Mommy has to take care of it. And she's like, oh, okay, mommy, you're going to go see the doctor? You be brave, mom. If you get a shot, you be brave. I was like, okay. She's like, and don't cry. It's like, it's okay if you cry. You can cry.
She was being the mom.
She was.
She was parroting what you tell her.
And we actually went to Build-A-Bear. You could do a little self-recorded video, like little voice on your bear. Mm-hmm. So we picked out a teddy bear for each of them, and we did a little recording together for my boy and for my oldest, my girl. And then she's talking with her, and I go, this is mommy. Remember that mommy loves you very much. And even when mommy is not around, you can always hug this teddy bear. And it'll remind you how much mommy loves you. In Spanish, because we speak Spanish. And you could hear her little voice in the background. Te amo, te amo.
I love you, I love you.
She has this little cat that she has become very, very attached to now.
Aww. So age-appropriate explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And then they watch mommy fight the battle against the big boo-boo.
Yep.
You knew that they were going to be watching you. So what did you want them to take away from watching you?
I wanted them to take away that it's okay if you don't feel okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to understand that boo-boos happen and that we have to be strong and that sometimes we have to do things we don't want, because it's for our health. So even if it means that mommy's going to get a shot and she's not going to like it, it's going to be to make her feel better. And mommy's going to be able to come back because we're doing this to be strong for you so we can be here. So lots of talking and reassurance.
CG, endometriosis has been a lifelong battle for you.
Mm-hmm.
That has led you to be in chronic pain.
Yeah.
Severe pain that your children have witnessed. How do you explain that to them?
It was hard because, the thing about endometriosis is it's a building debilitation. However, it almost seemed like even though it was building, some things would come out of nowhere. So I would be walking and then, for a woman who's given birth, imagine walking and you're a little sore, a little crampy, but out of nowhere, you're at 10 centimeters dilated.
What?
Yes, that's it. I mean, it is one of the 20 most painful chronic conditions on record. And some lists have it even as number 1 as most painful. So, that type of pain out of nowhere would bring you to your knees. And then, so it was very unpredictable. My children saw a lot of traumatic, visualizations of their mother, being in a lot of undescribable pain. And it could just be, a normal day, and then it's not. At some points, it got to the point where I started losing consciousness from the pain. And I'll never forget the first time that this happened. My middle daughter was about 3.5, 4, and my youngest was 1.5. And they were in my bathtub, and I have a big garden tub. And, I never raised the level of water to like higher than the belly button of the shortest kid in the tub. But
Dr. Lastra approves.
Yes. But I remember sitting there, and I remember the room start to spin, and I remember the panic of, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening, but I'm losing vision. I'm losing sight of my children. They're in the bathtub. They could drown. And I was by myself, and that was incredibly terrifying. After that, I was no longer watching my children by myself. Miguel, luckily, he's able to work from home. And when he wasn't, we had a nanny to help. But my children were seeing a lot of things that were unexplainable and very scary, and it led them to have a lot of anxiety. They were worried their mother was going to die. Let's just call it what it is. They had that fear. And my husband, at one point, we all had that fear. We didn't know what was happening. Things were getting so bad. But everything happens for a reason, right? So at the height of how bad this is getting, I am hospitalized, and I know I'm a stage 4 endo patient. I've been battling this since I was 9 years old. I've already had multiple surgeries. I've already had multiple miscarriages. I have my 3 beautiful children.
Yes.
I know I'm done having kids.
Yes.
It's time for my hysterectomy. So just call in the doctor and let me have my hysterectomy.
May I ask if while you're going through all of this, your children know what's going on, or they still don't?
They know that mommy has endometriosis and
They
mommy
do.
is sick. But how do you explain that to them? So
How did you?
I explained it in the sense that mommy is sick, mommy has endo, mommy needs help, and we're still finding the right doctor to help me. When they would come home from school and I was in the hospital, mommy is in the hospital, mommy's getting medicine, mommy is, they're trying to make mommy feel better. If they would cry, there began to be a lot of separation anxiety.
Yeah.
So, they'd be like, well, are you going to be home when I come home? I don't know, but daddy will be home, or Mimi will pick you up if I'm not. And, and I will call you.
Gosh.
So there was a lot of, video FaceTiming with them.
The thing is, on top of worrying about figuring out what's going on with your health and getting that straightened out, as a mother, you must have been thinking, how do I protect my children from the agony that it must be to have to wonder, is my mom going to die? So how do you juggle that? Because you have enough to worry about with your own health and your own prognosis and your own treatment, and you have to deal with making sure your kids are okay. How do you do that?
You just do it. You figure it out.
You're a mother.
You're a mother. Every day it was, how can I communicate what's going on to them? How can I bring them on the journey to ease their worries and let them know that it's scary right now, but Mama and Papa, we're doing our damnedest to figure this out.
So number one strategy, open communication.
Always.
Throughout.
And I answered every single question they had.
I think that's great because, in our culture, Hispanic culture, and probably other cultures, the children don't need to know everything in the old days, right?
No, you want to protect them. You don't want them.
But are you?
But the fact of the matter is my kids were scared with what they were seeing on their own.
Exactly.
So
they need some sort of acknowledgement.
Yeah, I feel like, by not communicating to them what was going on, you give them license for their imaginations to run wild.
And to go
we're
to the
talking
worst
about
place.
Children who fear monsters under their beds.
Yes,
correct.
Have great imagination.
Yes, and it's bittersweet. That's a blessing and a curse. And in this case, I wanted to ease that. And the thing about endo is it's widely misdiagnosed. So even though I knew I'm a stage 4 patient, I went in an ambulance and I'm telling them I'm a stage 4 patient. I had just had a procedure. Okay. I just had a failed saline hysterectogram, trying to look for, endo, cysts, polyps, whatever we could find. And I started hemorrhaging. And so, I called the doctor that did the procedure. They're like, we don't triage, just go to the ER. I went to the ER. My hemoglobin was low, but they're like, you can go down to a 4 before you need a blood transfusion. They let me go home.
Oh, no.
I continue to hemorrhage. Now, then my husband was away on business. The nanny calls an ambulance. I go in an ambulance. I'm like, I just had this procedure. This is an endo case. I'm stage 4 endo. They admit me as GI. They think it's irritable bowel syndrome. I'm like,
so here you are having to advocate for yourself, right?
Yes.
And your kids are back home with the nanny in that instance. You have a nanny, you have your spouse, you have your parents or your spouse's parents around you. How big of a component, how important is it, especially for the kids, to have that mom has that support system?
It's very important. For me, when I had to go to surgery back in January, I had my friend come, one of my best friends, to be with the kids while my mom was with me in the hospital, because my husband went with me for the surgery. Then he left to go pick up the kids. My mom stayed. So there's just multiple moving pieces. We had many friends drop off food because I was I was basically out of commission for doing mom work and housework and any kind of work for 4 weeks after the surgery. So multiple friends were dropping off food. We had friends coming to come help play with the kids to keep them entertained so that their life keep moving as it is and it's not rocked too much.
It takes a village has never been more true than in a scenario like that.
You know, for me, my village is, you know, my husband saved my life. You know, the hospital's resolution for my case was to sedate me with morphine. You know, it was pain management. It didn't matter that I said I don't have irritable bowel syndrome, I don't have GI issues. They still put me under anesthesia for endoscopies and colonoscopies. So, you know, my husband was in Tampa at the hospital the following morning. I mean, by the time I arrived to the ER, he was already at the airport. So he made it to me. Thankfully, in this day and age, you can get on a flight, you can get anywhere. So it was him. He started calling all around the country trying to find an endometriosis specialist. And that's when we found Dr. Sechkin and Dr. Chu in New York. And they, you know, performed my surgery and they got the ball rolling, you know. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know what would happen. If it wasn't for him saying, I don't care what it costs. I don't care what we have to do. I don't care what we have to leverage. I need to save my wife. I need to save the mother of my kids. It was everything, you know, and from that, you know, that is why I am an ambassador for the Endometriosis Foundation of America. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I met another woman with endometriosis.
I feel like I don't hear enough talk about it, so I commend you for that, CG. It's so important, and both of you, because you're going through something that is difficult to deal with, but you're finding the time and making it a priority to share your insights and inform people, and that's what this podcast is all about. And I know it must be excruciatingly difficult, and I'm so grateful. I wonder, you've been through this nightmare as a mom. What do you feel? What do you feel right now?
You feel fear, tears, but you know, you got to do everything you got to do to be there, to get up every day and show up for your family.
And if the kids see mom have weak moments,
We're
Totally fine. They need to see those weak moments. My kids see me have weak moments. They know, okay, mommy's a little sad today because we explain, and then we talk about ways to feel better. It's funny, because my daughter, you know, toddlers have a lot of meltdowns. She'll be like, Mommy, let's breathe. Mommy, do you need a massage?
It's amazing how, from what you're telling me, they step up so little.
They do.
They step up.
They really,
because they're
really
stronger
do.
than we imagine, I bet.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
When you bring them on as a teammate, they do become your teammates, you know. And I know, like, growing up, like my mom says, you know, they're just kids, let them be kids. We're in this together. Whether I want it for them or not, they're on this ride with me. And kids want to be helpful. They want to feel like they can help you. So let them help. You know, whether it's them guiding a breathing session or whether it's them putting away their clothes or wanting to carry the load, you can let them in an age-appropriate way to where you're not burdening them, you're empowering them.
I love that.
And
You
I
know?
feel that then they can be even more kids because they're like, oh, I helped mommy and that was good. Okay, now I want to go do some coloring. Let's do it. They like quickly change it.
Yes.
Okay,
They're stronger
now.
for it. They're stronger for it.
They do.
In our last minutes, has there been a moment, like something they've said or done, that made you go, wow, they're going to be okay?
Yes. I remember I couldn't talk after my surgery because I had, you know, significant part of my tongue come out. Couldn't move my tongue that was still remaining, so I couldn't talk. And we were showering. We do showers together, and my daughter said, "Mom, I'm gonna fix you. I'm gonna give you a massage, and you'll be able to talk." And then I was like, I was sitting down in the shower because, you know, it's just easier, and I was kind of tired. So I was like, okay, you know, like nodding my head because, you know, I was doing a lot of like motions with my hands and head motions to communicate with her by that point. She gave me the longest back rub that that I've ever seen a toddler do. Then she took like my razor, but I of course took the razor off. She's like, I'll shave your legs too, Mom. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, I guess that's the cutest thing. And then she wasn't asking for anything in return after. She wasn't like, okay, now I get a foot massage or something like that. And then she's like, I fixed you, Mom. I fixed you. So that was really cute.
What about you, CG?
Well, endometriosis is genetic. So my children are 70% more likely to have endo. This is something that worries them. You know, my oldest is like, Mom, I'm afraid I'm going to get endo. This is why we covered this in Maggie and the Moms, the Empower Project.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell her I fight every day to raise awareness, teach them the signs and symptoms, and being in the community, staying in the community. We will have the tools to get them the help when we need to, if we need to. Hopefully we don't.
Hopefully we don't.
But they'll be able to fight just like we will. And she's like, yes, we will. Good. Thank you.
So open communication,
Yes.
age appropriate,
Yes.
a strong support system,
Empower them.
Definitely.
empower them,
Yes.
let them see you be weak.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let them see you fight back
Let
and
them
be
see you
strong.
be strong and fight back.
Mhm.
Thank you, ladies. I love to see you holding hands right now. Can I join?
Yes. Definitely.
Deanna? Thank you for this time.
And there it is.
It's been wonderful. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us.
for having us.
Oh, my goodness. That was